These days, even the most ardent cinephiles would be forgiven for missing out on tons of the wonderful movies that get released. And with a seemingly infinite number of flicks to catch up on, among other commitments, it is unsurprising that some cinematic gems get lost in the shuffle. This is no different for the horror genre, folks, whose usually affordable production costs mean a large number of projects can be put out, to the point that even the most dedicated of horror hounds can be a bit overwhelmed. Now, because of this, some underrated efforts come and go with little fanfare, a far cry from what their quality deserves. So with that in mind, I'm Gareth, you're watching What Culture Horror, and here are 10 great 2024 horror movies that you probably missed. Number 10, Starve Acre. Based on the 2019 novel of the same name, Daniel Cockatelo's sophomore effort is an understated, chilling venture that works due to its exploration of grief and rebirth, underscoring its subtle but effective fright. Like its literary source of inspiration, the plot follows archaeologist and university lecturer Richard and his wife Jules as they mourn the loss of their son Owen. Before his passing, Owen claimed to hear mysterious whistling from an oak tree near the family's home, and once Richard begins to uncover its secrets, as well as those surrounding his abusive father, the bereaved couple is thrust into a deeply unnerving world of disturbing Yorkshire folklore. The film adaptation adds new complexities to how Richard and Jules begin to embrace the supernatural happenings around them, and this slight change succeeds due to its central performances and relentlessly disconcerting tone. In particular, the latter eases viewers into the actions the couple take in order to cope with their grief. And while the ending is incredibly upsetting, it feels like the logical conclusion to the built-up lore and relationship dynamics established earlier on in the film. Check it out, my friend. Number 9, VHS Beyond. A winning blend of science fiction and horror, this found footage horror anthology easily ranks amongst the best entries in the uniquely structured VHS franchise. Composed of 6 short films, VHS Beyond gives horror fans a fair amount of variety when it comes to how they wish to be frightened and entertained. Variety is the spice of life. The 7th entry in this wide-ranging VHS saga was fortunate enough to get the talents of Mike Flanagan, Kate Siegel, and Justin Long working on a handful of features in behind-the-scenes capacities, signaling the franchise's growing wider appeal to creatives working in Tinseltown. Based around the theme of hostile alien life, most entries use this idea to showcase the innate fear humans have in encountering the unknown, as well as showcasing in gory detail the absolute worst that could happen if unassuming everyday humans came across aliens who decidedly did not come in peace. For those who want more than extraterrestrial exploits in their horror movies though, there are shorts that gleefully and frightfully explore genre staples such as body horror, artificial intelligence, and zombies too. This, coupled with interludes that add context to UFO sightings, makes VHS Beyond a must-watch for horror fans. And speaking of horror movies that have aliens involved, guess what question I'm gonna ask? Yeah, that's right, I wanna know what's your favorite alien horror movie of all time. Probably gonna be Alien, right? Surprise me. Number 8, Handling the Undead. This Norwegian film is less so a standard zombie flick and more so a meditation on grief, bereavement, and the shock that comes with unexpectedly reconnecting with a loved one who was thought to be lost forever. Now, that approach may not work for everyone, but for those willing to forego gore, fast-paced storytelling, and other familiar horror tropes, they will be rewarded with a zombie apocalypse told through an achingly poignant lens. The Thea Feidenstahl-directed Handling the Undead, I tried my best with that pronunciation, follows 3 families who have to come to terms with their loved ones following an unexplained supernatural event that brings them back from the hereafter. Its principal conflict does not lie in the standard humans fight off zombies context, but rather the film explores the emotional complications that the bereaved families are faced with once they encounter these reanimated loved ones. I mean, can you imagine being in that situation? This somber subject matter is accompanied by an elegant visual language and strong performances from the cast, especially from the lead Renat Reinsve. Once again, handling the undead will not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is still a welcome diversion from standard zombie fare for those who wish to try something a bit new. Number 7, it's what's inside. The body swapping trope is usually reserved for comedies. Freaky Friday and The Change-Up are prime examples that come to mind, but the very nature of losing one's body and trading it for another, if even for a moment, can be a narrative goldmine in the world of horror. It's What's Inside understands this very well, using this subgenre to creatively look at the themes of jealousy and hidden curiosity in different friend groups. The Greg Jardin-directed project follows some friends who reunite for a party before one of them ties the knot, and their long-lost friend Forbes also reconnects with them, but has a briefcase in tow that sets the movie's hijinks into motion. It's What's Inside's pace and runtime means that viewers are immediately immersed in the group dynamics and machinations of the briefcase, giving us an unsettling but entertaining look into each individual's desires, fears, and ultimately disturbing motivations. Jardin directed the feature with verve, as best showcased in the cast's game performances and unexpectedly strong imagery that lends itself well to the flick's surreal humor. It's on Netflix too, so yeah, pop it on next time you're struggling for something to watch on a Friday night. Number 6, You'll Never Find Me. The concept of minimalist horror might seem like an oxymoron to those who come to the genre seeking spine-chilling thrills and excessive gore, but low-key, frightful affairs can be just as effective as their relatively more bombastic counterparts. And that is most certainly the case with indie horror You'll Never Find Me, a restrained yet utterly terrifying picture that trades jump scares for a foreboding atmosphere and suffocating setting. This Australian entry into the horror canon follows Patrick, who receives an unexpected visit from a woman seeking transportation to town during a particularly rainy night. When the latter request is not met, the visitor chooses to stay in Patrick's house, and as the night progresses, the duo begins to learn unsettling things about each other. You'll Never Find Me derives its strength from its core mysteries, as in the truth behind Patrick and his visitor, as well as its unnerving, intimate setting. Patrick and the visitor's back and forth keeps viewers guessing, which is nicely bolstered by Brendan Rock and Jordan Cohen's performances, and a script that takes a deliciously twisted turn in the third act. No spoilers here though. Tense, technically proficient, and making the most of its slow burn. You'll Never Find Me is an excellent example of minimalist horror done right. If you're having fun learning about some 2024 horrors you should definitely check out, then hit that subscribe button and you will get even more of these wonderful What Culture horror videos each and every day. Number 5, Cuckoo. The latest unofficial entry in the Birds as Horror Movie Villains section of the genre, Tillman Singer's Alp-set body horror Cuckoo strongly benefits from game performances, especially from Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens, gonzo tonal features, and creative directorial choices from Singer. Stevens in particular is captivating as unnerving hotel manager Herr Koenig, adding yet another colourful character to his unexpected but welcome recent collection of go-for-broke performances. He's on a runner. However, he is brilliantly matched by Schaefer's Gretchen, whose comparatively grounded but still commanding portrayal serves as a necessary contrast to Stevens and the picture's shocking twists. Speaking of its twists, the story goes in unexpected and deliciously sadistic directions. You'll love to see it. This, coupled with its knowingly silly tone, means that Cuckoo is destined for cult classic status in the near future. Singer's direction is also commendable, capably capturing the isolation of the Alps-based hotel and using the design of the humanoid cuckoos and their shrieks to great effect. All in all, Cuckoo is a great watch for horror fans who like their stories with a healthy side of absurdism. Number 4, Mads. One-shot movies are gradually becoming a common feature in cinema these days, but many of these endeavors employ hidden cuts to sell their unbroken nature. This was not the case with David Moreau's Mads though. The French indie horror feature from late 2024 that impressively depicts its terrifying events all in one take. The movie follows Romain, an 18-year-old who's looking for the best way to party, and so decides to take an experimental pill to heighten his celebratory mood. However, once he encounters a heavily injured woman on the street, Romain quickly realizes that trading his faculties for a good time was not the best call to make during the advent of a zombie outbreak. What a nightmare. Opting for a Warner was an inspired choice too, as it lets viewers soak in the chaos in the French city, and the sound design is just as potent, creating a sensory assault that might be akin to indulging in the types of drugs Romain would favor. Kinetic and relentless. Mads might not reinvent the wheel, but it doesn't really need to in order to thrill horror audiences. Number 3. Stopmotion. Robert Morgan's feature-length debut, Stopmotion is a chilling exploration of an artist's obsessive commitment to their work, and is a towering technical achievement in blending animated and live-action footage to terrifying effect. This British horror picture follows the story of Ella Blake, a stop-motion animator who resolves to finish her abusive mother Suzanne's most recent project, after the latter's ailments take a turn for the worse. Things get decidedly grotesque once Ella takes inspiration from the spine-chilling tales of her young neighbor about the entity known as the Ashman. Morgan, who also wrote Stop Motion alongside Robin King, uses part of his artistic experience and sensibilities from his past short films to craft a tale of obsession, showing the pursuit of artistic excellence and the fine line between grounded realism and disturbing fantasy. Ella's gradual descent into mental instability is an unfortunate but unsurprising consequence of her mother's abuse and her all-consuming devotion to creating the perfect stop-motion project. Aisling Franciosi shoulders these narrative burdens with aplomb, ably aided by factors such as Kaylin Springall's solid performance, Morgan's proficient direction, and the general handling of the disconcerting stop-motion scenes. Number 2. Lowlifes. Now, most people regard Tubi as a third-rate streaming service, and its questionable catalogue lends credence to this observation. However, the platform in recent times has tried to add some prestige to its inner workings, and the horror film Lowlifes was a good place to start. This unambiguously bloody Tesh Guttikonda and Mitch Oliver-helmed streaming offering follows two families from different sides of the urban-rural divide. The movie does not say anything particularly novel about the contrast between city dwellers and people from the farmland, other than its twist on who is committing the gory kills. Beyond that twist and the inevitable commentary that comes with it, this cannibal-centric story also features gruesome effects work, a surprising but effectively dark sense of humor, and decent performances, especially from Amanda Fix and Brianna Llewellyn. Additionally, the technical features, such as the previously mentioned effects work, are surprisingly polished, and a far cry from what Tubi usually puts out. Look, Lowlifes is not a game changer, folks, but that does not take away from its delightfully schlocky entertainment value. Number 1. Exhuma. The exploration of the concepts of death, and more so affairs of the occult, have been largely considered taboo or at least frightening to ponder, and Exhuma understands this very well. The Jang Jae-eun written and directed feature is a meticulously crafted and terrifying depiction of Korean occultism, clashing with historical tragedies and their modern-day misunderstandings. Jang's experience in the realm of occult-oriented cinema gave him a leg up in developing the story that follows three individuals with an affinity for the undead. Feng Shui master Kim Sang-dyok, shaman Lee Hwa-rim, and undertaker Yong Gyun worked together to rid a wealthy family of a curse from the beyond. I may have butchered all those pronunciations, but I tried. As the trio conducts their work, they uncover the extent to which their community is under threat from disruption by forces from the afterlife. Exhuma's strengths lie in its use of Korean folklore, colonial trauma, and spiritual balance to shape its characters, specifically the aforementioned Park family and its dark past, with the cast rising to the occasion in bringing these complex characters to life. The cultural specificity and depth, as well as the production values and performances, make Exhuma a must-watch for lovers of folk horror. So get it watched if that's you.